Hi, dear friends. This is my second video talk session on Prasad Consulting. The objective of this particular video talk is to explain how Prasad Consulting can enable you, support you, render every kind of service for defense, aerospace, homeland security, cyber security domains. And this is particularly for the startups and the MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises. So, how can Prasad Consulting help startups and MSMEs for their companies in defense, aerospace, homeland security, and cyber security domains? There are many constraints. Prasad Consulting is to enable you cross over all these constraints successfully and support you as much as feasible to ensure that you all succeed in spite of those constraints to deliver well to the demanding markets and particularly to the customers. Your customers are the forces in defense, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard, and various paramilitary forces. There are central police forces like BSF, ITBP, SSB, Assam Rifles, CRPF, and CISF. And these are the various forces, particularly the border forces, where the security constraints are there. The demands for the security equipment and machinery are there. And then also for the Air Force, that is both for the military airfields and for the commercial aerospace. In the case of military aviation, the constraints are far more, and they are no less in civil aviation and civil aerospace requirements. That is both for the military aircrafts and the civil aircrafts, and also for the civil airports, both domestic and international, and for all the kinds of airfields, including their perimeter security, and also for all the platforms which are housed and which are placed in those airfields. And of course, the specific issues with reference to the passenger traffic and canopy and apron requirements for the civil aerospace. And the third is homeland security, unending, with reference to the coastline security and with reference to various installations, defense installations, nuclear installations, and major industrial bases, air bases, airports, and the seaports, the dockyards, the shipyards, and you talk about pilgrim centers, you talk about the commercial spaces which are dense in their traffic and the requirements. And wherever you go, today there is a threat of terrorism, and therefore the needs of the surveillance and security are far more. And now coming to cyber security, which is very a vital domain. In all these domains, there is an issue for cyber security. We use various varieties of software in terms of system software, embedded applications, and various display applications. There are many operating systems, there are many compilers, and there are many APIs. In fact, most of them in fact are taken from abroad. Some of the firms, when you buy systems, you buy their software automatically, particularly for the forces, and we do not know the credibility of that particular software. And mostly these days there is an open source architecture, so we go in for a lot of open source platforms and open source applications, many APIs, and we do not know the risk involved. Nobody is gauging the risk. Everybody is happy with ChatGPT, but they do not know what is it going to really affect in terms of security, how that is going to really affect the security. And most of the platforms, in fact, have come to a standstill. Cyber breach has been very heavy. You do not know what you are heading for. And you have got no indigenous operating systems of your own. And there is a great need. But we have been operating only on Windows, Linux, etc., without understanding what are the various credentials which are required, essential reads which are required for a secured operating system. And everybody is happy with Windows. Everybody is happy with ChatGPT. Everybody is happy with the modern AI tools which have come from absolutely abroad. And we have not really gauged the kind of cybersecurity threats. And invariably, every house, every industry house, and every force is threatened with the cyber possible breach. And we have to be careful. So for all this, all are not enabled. So the intention is the Prasad Consulting would highlight and would like to help the end users, the clients in all forms, and the forces, and all the startups and all the MSMEs who have got severe challenges, how to certainly go ahead. Let us clearly analyze what are the various challenges. What are the various challenges for the startups and the SMEs, MSMEs? First is the cash starvation. Access to funding is a very big challenge. And the required talent is also a challenge, except for those 2-3 promoters who are actually talented in certain specific fields. For delivering systems, you require a lot of subsystem know-how, lot of wherewithal which you require, and for which we require real talent. And the most of the talent is taken by the industry majors. They throw very high packages and which startups cannot afford to pay. So the pay scales are very high. They are comfortable. They are taken care of. A lot of hygiene factors are taken care of for the employees, for the professionals when they are hired by the industry giants and the industry majors. And such things cannot be promised by the startups. The startups are evaluating. So the talent acquisition itself is a big constraint. The third, various regulatory conformances. It is not easy. Fourth is a competition. There is no level playing field. The same tender, whether it is 2 crores or 5 crores or 10 crores, 100 crores, it's all being floated across all. So therefore, there are startups, there are major industries, all of them are competing on the same tender. There is no specific reservation policy. Though there is a lot of say with reference to aiding the startups and giving lots of comforts to them and giving preferences to them, giving some exemptions to them, but still the effective level playing field hasn't happened. And the next is with reference to the infra and facilities. Suppose specifically for defense. If you want environmental engineering facilities with reference to the temperature chambers, for the thermal shock and thermal cycling, or for the shock or for the vibration, or for various kinds of facilities which are required for environmental screening, or for the electromagnetic interference and the electromagnetic compatibility, the kind of test beds which are required, facilities which are required. But with reference to conducted emissions, radiated emissions, conducted susceptibility, radiated susceptibility, for all these things, if you want some facilities and for the checks, etc., and then for the antennae, for the anechoic chambers, then for the radars with reference to the open test fields. And all these facilities are not available. They can't be, in fact, had by the startups or MSMEs because they are very expensive. But they are called upon to prove all this kind of tests. So test conformances is very fine. Next is the technology itself is very demanding. By the time the startup goes about and makes it, the customer is looking for something else. So you are all the time pacing, you are all the time running behind the customer. So therefore, there is technology is not frozen. Year after year, it is evolving. The customer invariably keeps on increasing your scope or demand. He will ask you for a particular product, and by the time he wants to accept it, he must have changed the entire canvas. So then how do you go about it? Then various market constraints and supply chains because you do not have that kind of credit facility, you do not have that kind of amounts and funding. So therefore, your sources for the supply and their terms, their demands, and the needs for you to pay the customs, etc., become very difficult for the startups to handle this supply chain. There are lots of vulnerabilities. In addition to that, the important thing is the cycle, gestation time. It's not that you will be able to start a product and get a check within 6 months, particularly in defense aerospace, because there are lots of things which have to be proved. The conformances are very high, hardware conformances, software conformances. In hardware conformances, right from the enclosure conformances, ingress protection conformances, temperature conformances, vibration shock conformances, and various other first of model tests which are required as per the MIL standards 810, or for the JSS Penta-5, the specific standards which the military, the defense forces look for. Even the paramilitary forces look for the JSS Penta-5, that is in India. Joint Service Specifications 55555, Penta-5. Then that lays down for various forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, and for others, in fact, sheltered, non-sheltered, and depending upon various kinds of specifications, what are the things which are to be proven. It's not easy to go about them, designing them. So therefore, the demands which reference to producing a preliminary design review, a critical design review, lots of documentation, acceptability, and various inspectorates, the procedures, they are phenomenal. The inspectorates are plenty, some of them with reference to the design, some of them with reference to the production and building, development itself. So they will check for many things. So the extensive documentation which is required, both in terms of what is promulgated, and of course these days the electronic documentation, inter-electronic technical manuals, IETMs we call them, the latest specifications. So there are many challenges. MSMEs, for the kind of cash they have, for the kind of funding they can get, for the lack of investment problems, for the lack of investment and the problems related to that, and for the kind of demands which the customers have, for the kind of facilities and infra, and for the kind of supply chain possibilities, for the kind of talent they have phenomenal problems. So they need some kind of a support. The support cannot all the time by hired regularly. That is, you cannot induct people. You can't have an increased headcount, and you have got a phenomenal competition. The price is to be monitored all the time. Everything is with reference to the cost. Everything is with reference to the quality. How do you put that kind of a quality within a specific cost and still come down to the L1? And how do you get the orders? The problem for startups and MSMEs, how do they generate orders? How do they get orders? How do they get clients in order that they get the orders? Everyone would like to have orders, but orders will not come just like that unless you prove yourself effectively, completely, with all your wherewithal. And for that, there are various gaps. The gaps in with reference to the technology, gaps with reference to the facilities, gaps with reference to the funding, gaps with reference to the knowledge and wherewithal, know-how itself, how to go about it, how to actually present yourself to the customer. The defense customers are very tough. Their needs are very specific. They are very professional in their kind of asking rates. So it's not easy for some MSME or startup chief to go in front of them and just bluff something. No, you will give away, and everything is impressionable. Suppose you lose your impression, you will not be able to present yourself in the second chance. If you fail yourself in the trials at the first go, you will not be able to go again. So you require first time successes, but there are so many areas where you will got. So Prasad Consulting will try and bridge. I spent 45 years, and I've been with various DRDO organizations, DRDO units. I've been with production agencies. I've been with design agencies. I've been with the government as part of the government. I've been the customer. I've been the producer. I've been the designer. I've been the manufacturer. I've been the deliverer. I have tested various things across various fields. And I've been in the inspectorates as well, so knowing what they would like to seek and demand, whether it is reliability, whether it is quality, all these things I have gone through, And I have built systems, I have delivered systems with these hands. And I have installed a phenomenal number of systems on seas, on ships and submarines and air platforms. So therefore, I have a phenomenal wherewithal. I can be very handy for all of you. I can be useful. I can be availed for all that I know. I am here to plug in many gaps which you have. Where you are vulnerable, I am here to support you so that I can lift you up with absolutely least cost approach. Idea is to enable you, support you. And come to the defense. They themselves have various constraints. There cannot be a tender which certainly says that yes, I will go ahead and buy. Last line of the tender is it is issued without any linking to financial implication. It says very clearly it is issued without linking it to financial implications. So there is an expression of interest. Whose interest? It will go for long. I have seen the ones which came out in 1999, 2001. They waited for 10 years, 11 years before they became RFPs. That is the long gestation time. The procurements are governed by defense procurement procedures, defense procurement manuals. They ask for various things. Gestation times are very high. And in the case of defense and aerospace, you can't go to the market unless you have a product. But you can't just build a product which is very expensive. It takes a long time unless you have some definite customer. So how do you hold the customer in order that you can develop the product? Or how do you have a product so that you can show it to the customer and get the particular order? So it's a catch-22 situation. It's not easy. So therefore, it has to be a via media. How do you work out with all these constraints? Conformances are very, very high. The demands of the defense forces, they themselves have budget constraints. They themselves work on RE, BE and RE. And they have some time-bound programs. And they have got some specific induction calendar. You have to meet all those things. And there are various inspectorates. Sometimes the end user will not have any say when the inspectorate comes in scene. The joint programs of the armed forces and the DRDO, they go on and on and on. And there are many people who become victims of those particular programs. They are helpless sometimes. They lose money. There are many cases where people have lost their interest. Let me tell you, there were cases of suicides as well at some startups and some micro SMS because they could not stand. They spent all their money. There was no hope of getting an order. Now, at this point of time, how do you propose to collaborate with the foreign companies? How do you make some strategic alliances? How do you build consortia? You don't have expertise in every single domain. You require multiple domains. You require an RF domain. You require a digital domain. You require embedded processing domain. You require a display software application domain. You require various kinds of domain to make an integrated system. And there are many such systems which have to be integrated to make a command control platform. So therefore, there are many things, many pockets. So how do you integrate with people? How do you build consortia? It is here the Prasad Consulting will be in a position to support you, find right partners for you, give you right information with reference to what to do when, and support you in terms of various documents, in terms of your design document, your perspective plans, how to go about, and what are the ways to confront some kind of challenges, and what are the perspective issues which you are going to face, and what's going to be the demand. How do you have a kind of an appreciation of when the revenue is going to be there, when the first check is going to come, when you start up for the product. So these are the issues where Prasad Consulting will be able to help. Also convince the investors, yes, this is the company that can deliver. This is the company, there is a future. So therefore you go about investment. So this is the point where Prasad Consulting can help you with reference to aiding the investment, supporting in terms of technology, and explaining to you various sources of supply in the supply chain, and managing your presentations to the customer, explaining to you what actually the customer is asking rate and your capability. So the bridge, what exactly is the gap, and that how do you go about bridging it, and what do you need when, timing of the entire project, trials, building of it, development of it, going through environmental screening, particularly various aspects which are necessary for you, and also joining you for ensuring that your product qualifies completely, the qualification scheme for the product, that it can be accepted by the forces. All these things are essential, and Prasad Consulting can help you. Particularly if you go to the aerospace, the asking rates are very, very high, needs are very, very high. You require to, your software cannot just be accepted, and your hardware cannot just be positioned and inducted. Putting anything, even if you want to put a pin on a flying aircraft, it has to go through various testing phases. DEVO 2i4, DEVO 178, various kinds of software procedures. And somewhere the original DEVO 2167 alpha replaced by MIL 498, that's also replaced and advanced again by IEEE 12207, various standards, configuration management, your standard baselining, your versions. How do you manage your versions? Various aspects are complex. They are not simple for the fresh graduates or for all the startup captains. They have got enthusiasm, they have got the zeal, they got the age on their side. They will be able to fight, but they need experience. I would like to say, for every Arjuna who fought the war, one Krishna was essential. And similarly, Arjuna couldn't have fought the war had Drona not trained him very well. Simple. So you require a trainer. You require a person to handhold you, walk with you, prove the things, and help you. And you can't keep on inducting the people for this particular purpose at high cost. Prasad Consulting is prepared to support you, give you all that you need, and help you and meet the requirements. Thank you very much. I look forward to invites from the startup chiefs and from the MSME heads, their proprietors, their directors, their managing directors. Please talk to me. Let me know what your problems are. Perhaps I have right solutions for you, and those solutions which can enable you become successful. Thank you.